If you drop a pin in the middle of the South Pacific Ocean, thousands of miles from anywhere, you might just land on Easter Island. Known as Rapa Nui to its native people, it's one of the most remote inhabited places on Earth. A 63-square-mile triangle of volcanic soil, floating in isolation more than 2,300 miles from the Chilean mainland. But it's not the distance that captures imaginations. It's the legacy of a civilization that carved nearly 900 massive stone statues, some weighing over 80 tons, others towering 30 feet high. Heads too large for their bodies, backs turned to the ocean, eyes once gazing inland. The Moai, as they're called, are not just archaeological wonders. They're symbols of a people's rise, a stolen legacy, and a misrepresented history. Welcome back to Facts on Trial, the story of Easter Island. Not as a cautionary tale of collapse, but as a testament to human resilience, ingenuity, and the ongoing struggle for justice. The navel of the world, Rapa Nui, isn't just a remote island. For centuries, its people called it Tepito o Tehenua, the navel of the world. The first settlers likely arrived from eastern Polynesia around 800 to 1200 years ago, traveling thousands of miles in wooden double-hulled canoes, guided by nothing more than stars, ocean swells, and ancestral memory. They brought taro, bananas, chickens, and a rich tradition of seafaring knowledge. And they didn't just survive. They built a complex, hierarchical society rooted in clan leadership, ancestor worship, and a deep connection to land and sea. For generations, the Rapa Nui people flourished. They built stone houses, constructed agricultural systems, fished the reefs, and most famously, began carving monolithic statues to honor their ancestors. These statues, the Moai, became the centerpiece of a cultural system that linked the spiritual world to the physical. The Moai are more than just stone carved between the 13th and 16th centuries. The Moai are immediately recognizable. Long ears, elongated faces, prominent brows, and fishhook-shaped nostrils. Most were carved from volcanic tuff, found in the Rano Raraku quarry, where hundreds of unfinished Moai still lie embedded in the earth. Each Moai was erected on a ceremonial stone platform called an ahu, often overlooking a village. Contrary to popular belief, most of the statues aren't just heads. They have torsos, arms etched to their sides, hands on their hips, and sacred carvings across their backs. The largest completed Moai stands 33 feet tall and weighs roughly 82 tons. One unfinished Moai would have reached over 70 feet and 270 tons. Crucially, nearly all Moai face inland, not out to sea. Their purpose wasn't to guard against external threats, but to oversee and protect their people, channeling the spiritual energy known as mana from the ancestors. Then came the story of the giants walking. For decades, scientists debated how such colossal statues could have been moved without wheels, cranes, or draft animals. Oral tradition said the Moai walked, a claim long dismissed as myth. Then, in 2012, a group of archaeologists replicated the movement using a full-scale Moai replica. With ropes and teams pulling alternately on each side, the statue rocked side to side in a controlled walking motion. In under an hour, it traveled over 300 feet. The legend was true. The Moai walked, powered by community coordination and sophisticated engineering. What we see today is not a marvel of brute force, but of ingenuity. A civilization solving impossible problems with limited tools and unlimited determination. For years, the dominant theory was that Easter Island suffered a self-inflicted collapse, a tale of ecological suicide. According to this view, the Rapa Nui cut down their forests to move the Moai, leading to erosion, crop failure, starvation, warfare, and even cannibalism. The Moai, in this narrative, were both symbols and instruments of their downfall. But modern science tells a different story. Recent research reveals that the islanders didn't simply devastate their environment, they adapted. They used volcanic rock mulch to retain soil nutrients. They built rock gardens and windbreaks to protect crops. They farm sweet potatoes, yams, and taro, and develop chicken houses to ensure a steady protein source. Their population may have peaked at over 17,000, more than capable of sustaining the Moai building era. Far from being reckless destroyers, the Rapa Nui were skilled environmental engineers. The true collapse came not from within, but from without. European contact began in 1722, when Dutch explorer Jacob Roggeveen arrived on Easter Sunday. What followed was centuries of devastation. In the 1860s, Peruvian slave raiders abducted over 1,500 Rapa Nui people, half the island's population, including religious leaders and knowledge keepers. Most died in captivity. Those who returned brought disease, including smallpox and tuberculosis, which ravaged the remaining population. By the late 1800s, the native population had dropped to just over 100 individuals. Catholic missionaries destroyed or buried many Moai, labeling indigenous spirituality as paganism. Rapa Nui oral traditions, language, and rituals were suppressed. By the time Chile annexed the island in 1888, its people had been confined to a single fenced village, while the rest of the island was leased to foreign sheep companies. The Moai weren't lost to time, they were buried by colonization. The ecocide theory became popular in Western academia in the 1990s, particularly through Jared Diamond's book, Collapse. It painted Rapa Nui as a parable of environmental disaster, but this narrative left out colonialism, slavery, disease, and dispossession. By blaming the islanders for their own downfall, it obscured centuries of resistance, adaptation, and survival. It turned a story of resilience into a warning about recklessness, and it erased the real villains: European raiders, missionaries, and governments that pillaged the island and silenced its people. Even before European arrival, Rapa Nui society was shifting. As resources became strained and Moai building declined, a new religious system emerged, the Tangata Manu, or Birdman cult. Each year, contestants representing different clans competed in a dangerous race. They climbed down the cliffs at Orongo, swam through shark-infested waters to a nearby islet, and retrieved the first sooty tern egg of the season. The victor's sponsor became the Birdman, spiritual and political leader for a year. This cult marked a shift from hereditary chiefs to warrior leaders, reflecting a society adapting to new pressures. It didn't replace the Moai, it evolved from them. When Chile annexed the island in 1888, it promised protection, but instead it handed Easter Island over to sheep companies. The Rapa Nui were corralled into the village of Hangaroa, forbidden from accessing ancestral lands. For nearly a century, they lived under what some describe as apartheid conditions. It wasn't until 1966 that the Rapa Nui were granted full Chilean citizenship and freedom of movement on the island. Today, land disputes remain. Tourism brings money, but also erosion and overdevelopment. Some sacred sites are closed off to protect them. Others have been reclaimed and reburied by locals as acts of protest. Statues taken by British and French explorers now sit in foreign museums, far from the island's soil. The Rapa Nui have demanded their return. What was once a story of mystery is now one of justice. The Rapa Nui people are not relics of a vanished civilization. They are its living continuation. Activists today are fighting for land rights, cultural recognition, and reparations. Efforts to revive the Rapa Nui language and restore traditional governance are ongoing. In 2018, the Rapa Nui Parliament demanded the return of the Hoa Hakananaya, a sacred moai held at the British Museum. So far, the request has been denied, but the struggle continues. The people of Rapa Nui are reclaiming their history, one stone, one chant, one protest at a time. Easter Island was never just a land of statues. It's a land of survivors. A place where myth and science collide, where stories etched in stone whisper of ancestors and endurance. The Moai do not mourn a fallen people. They honor a people still standing. This is Facts on Trial, bringing you answers to questions you never thought to ask, to help you better understand the world.